Welcome and good evening if you're joining us live tonight on Train Tuesday. If you're following us later on our YouTube channel, welcome. So glad to have you aboard. We're going to be talking about some Athearn transportation needs for your layout and a little way to get those goods from the locomotive to the stores, if you will. But let's see who's joining us here tonight. Let's see. We've got Anthony. DG Model Works is in the house. Anessa, Anthony, Donnie, Randall, Cornell, Late Night Model Railroading, Southern 6900. And going back a little bit, we've got Dale, Steven, KCG, Rail Gilbert, just a few of the folks joining us tonight. Now, one programming note I do want to share with you. The service that we're using, which is StreamYard, that's our third service provider that does these live streams for us. They've announced as of this afternoon that there is currently an issue with Facebook watchers. So if you catch us on the YouTube later and wondering why you didn't get the notification, there is some kind of problem with Facebook. There's some type of update and it's not integrating well with StreamYard. So I apologize for that, but that is what's going on there. Guys in YouTube land, it looks like you are all set and you'll be here. So again, we're going to be talking about yard tractors, and we're also going to be talking about containers and container chassis. But before we get started, let's go ahead and do what we always do. Let's do another round of shout outs. We've got Thomas, Dale, BNSF 9708, Calculated Snipe, Dale George, Ozzy, and Gerald's joining us tonight. So thanks again for joining us. So glad to have you on board. Let's get started with another Train Tuesday. So as I was saying earlier, we're going to go ahead and talk about yard tractors to get started. And these are all part of the Athearn HO line. And here we are. So a little background on these. These are also known as terminal tractors. Yard tractor, terminal tractor, the name is interchangeable. It's a kind of a semi-tractor, and it's tended to move semi-trailers within a cargo yard, warehouse facility, or an intermodal facility. Now, much like a switcher locomotive, it's used to position rail cars. So think of it the same way as very much like a switcher of the past. Obviously, these containers come off the vessels and they are staged. And these little trucks, they will go underneath the cranes. They will have their skeleton chassis. They will place a container on board, and then they move those throughout the yard. And in most cases, they are moved to a staging facility for the intermodal cars. Now, it's been a little bit since we've announced these. We've announced a new run for October, and these are what we're going to be showing off. So here's the sample here from the last run, just to kind of give you an idea what these look like. And let's go on to show you what we're going to be offering. Now, a lot of the ones that we're going to be offering are based in the 90s into the early 2000s. Here's the Santa Fe version, obviously 1990s. And here's a Conrail version, again, early 90s. Although I'm sure you could still see these running around much after the Conrail had been split up between CSX and Norfolk Southern. Now, interesting note about these critters, if you will. Kind of a very utilitarian cab, as you can see here. The engine is located off to what would be the driver's right-hand side. And the cab is rather Spartan because really they're not going a long distance like a standard semi. You can see that there's a traditional door off to the driver's left, but there's also a door off the back. And that's basically there so that when those trailers are connected, it just makes it easier for the driver to get all those connections. They can just simply walk out the back and make their connections and go to their next run. Here's JB Hunt. This was one that we offered a while ago and was extremely popular. This is based more on a late 2000s. Norfolk Southern, one that's certainly popular. So for you guys out there that have got some intermodal facility with your Norfolk Southern layout, here you go. And let's see, what else do we have? Here we go, early 90s again. This is the Southern Pacific version. And one that is always popular, and that's the UPS. Now, obviously, this is a little bit later. This is for 2016 on up, showing the newer UPS logo they've used for a few years. And here's an actual sample picture of the last run that we did to give you an idea just how detailed these little trucks are in HO scale. If I zoom in there, you can see there's an interior in there. You also have all the weather stripping that's been marked out, your rear view mirrors. Keep in mind, these HO scale semis, they're not very big. They're just tiny little guys. But look, grab irons. Now, these are perfect, like I said, for any intermodal facility. Not only that, but even if you had some type of UPS terminal, you could certainly use one of these in that as well. You're not going to typically see these going down the road too often. They're pretty much confined to yards or some type of facility such as that. However, I have seen these in Champaign used at the Postal Service, and they will go down the road just a little bit to go between the two facilities that the United Post Office has here in Champaign. So a couple of things to keep in mind. This is the perfect addition for any of you guys that are modeling the 90s into the 2000s, and you have an intermodal facility of some type. So we're going to stop there real quick and see if anybody has any questions about these HO scale trucks. Now, you only have till this Friday to pre-order these. So if you're on the fence about getting one of these, you're going to need to get to your dealer before Friday. Let's see. Well, these tractors have different numbers per scheme that have numbers on them. No big deal to redecal, just curious. Yeah, typically when we offer things of that type, whether it be a container or in this case a vehicle, if we do rerun, say, the UPS, which is extremely popular, the JB Hunt, we try to pick different road numbers. That just makes it easier for everybody involved. If you missed the first announcement, you can get that second run. If you didn't miss that second run or first run, you can just add to your collection. Harold's pretty happy about the USPS. Yeah, not this time. We're not going to do those this time, but UPS, yes, we will do those. But yes, that's I've seen these in Champaign. Daylight Dave says these are nicely detailed, especially for my 2 intermodal yards. Yeah, you got 2 intermodal yards, you could definitely use a few of these on your layout. Harold's liking these. Conrail continues to be popular. So that's one of the reasons why we brought that one out. All right. One more comment here that I may have missed. All right, so let's go on to the next item. And these all tie in together. So the next item that we're going to be talking about is the 48-foot chassis that will be for the 48-foot containers. Now here's a picture of the last run. And these are, again, perfect to put on your layout where your intermodal facility is. You can use these in staging. Intermodal yards, they tend to kind of stack these up, almost lean them up like ladders. When they're ready to be used, they're taken down, they're put onto one of these little trucks and then moved to the crane. Somebody was asking what these trucks that we were just talking about were based on. Pretty much loosely based on the Ottawa trucks. If you do a quick search for yard truck or intermodal service truck, you'll see Ottawa's come up real quick. That's one of the most popular brand trucks out there for this service. So, like I was saying, it's time to reissue some of these. And here's what we got. Now, this is mainly going to be for you guys in the 90s and into the 2000s. Now, we're offering these with the chassis and the container. Now, this is just a single set, container and chassis. Here's the JB Hunt version. These are all 48 foot. So, again, perfect for the 1990s. I think we've got a few in here that are going to be in the 80s, but most of these are going to be right into the 1990s. Here's the Santa Fe, again matching chassis with container. Now, interesting to note, you'll notice the way these containers are. You'll see that the 48 kind of in the red, it's prominent. Well, that was new in the 90s. We had just gone from 40-foot containers, 45-foot containers. These 48s were new in the 90s, and that's what these represent. Conrail guys, I know you remember these. I remember seeing these on many a train when I would do rail fanning in the western parts of Massachusetts. These used to be everywhere. You don't see them as much anymore. But for you guys that are modeling Conrail in the early 90s, you're going to want to pick up some of these. NYK, one that I haven't seen in a while. Maybe some of you guys have, but where I'm at, I have not seen a lot of these in a while. But again, pretty popular. 1990s era. And of course, Southern Pacific. We had to offer that. 1990s once again. Now these containers, they're fully assembled. They stack easily. And as far as the chassis, there's nothing you have to do. They're fully assembled. They're ready to go. They're all contemporary paint schemes based on these 1990s era. You could probably squeeze them into the early 2000s. Now the price on these, this is a retail price, but the container with chassis is $39.99. And I don't think I mentioned some of the features on those trucks earlier. We kind of showed them, but one thing of note is the fifth wheel is actually adjustable, just like the full scale truck. So that's a neat feature you don't usually see. Of course, it's got rubber tires, photo etched steps and rear deck. The interior we talked about a little bit. Now, the trucks themselves, all but the UPS, they're going to go at retail for $29.99. The UPS is $32.99. There is some licensing involved with UPS, so we had to put that in there. But the UPS ones continue to be probably one of the most popular ones. So there we have it. So now we've got our yard tractor, our yard goat, if you will. We've got our containers and chassis. You can probably guess what's next. We're going to talk about containers, but before we move on, let's take a look at some of the questions or comments out there. Let's see what else we've got. Are you a train man? I need about 20 of those JB Hunt and the SP. Sounds like you've got a good size yard there. And if you want to pick those up, you've got until Friday, the 28th. Coming right up, just a few days away. Never saw a Conrail Mercury trailer in person. I did, but it's been many years. And again, I was in Conrail country. I grew up in Conrail country. So when I would go rail fanning in my teenage years in Western Massachusetts, I would see those all the time. And even in the Midwest, when I moved into the upper Midwest, I'd see them occasionally in Rochelle. Haven't seen one in a few years, though. Let's see what else we've got. Donnie 6765. He says he drives a yard truck. So this is awesome. Well, that's cool. So you know all about these. I've seen these. I can honestly say I've not operated a full scale yard truck. I've operated a lot of vehicles in my life, but that is one I have not operated. All right, one more question. Let me scroll down a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, no worries, Randall. Sometimes it depends on where we're at, sometimes where we see these things. So it's not a problem. All right, looks like that's pretty good. So I see some comments out there asking for updates on the AC 4400s. I'm just going to ask if you please be respectful of other folks that are watching the program tonight. Questions like that, I'll actually ignore if it gets too persistent. One of those things, as far as updates on um, projects that we're working on, occasionally I'll bring those up in a Train Tuesday. But most of the time, you can find that information on our website. We try to list the ETAs as best as possible. Also, our social media is a great way to keep track of that. You can sign up on Facebook, other social media websites, even TikTok, and we post updates on there. So the question running around tonight about the AC 4400, no updates tonight, but stay tuned. When we have some information for you, we'll certainly pass it on. But in the meantime, please be respectful of the other viewers and enjoy tonight's program. All right, so the last thing that we're going to talk about is those containers. Now, I've got a picture here just so you guys see, because sometimes it's kind of hard to tell with just some line art, especially if you're new to Athearn. So here's a picture of the 48-foot Conrail Mercury containers that we're going to be offering. The biggest thing about these that I'm really impressed with is the printing and painting quality of these. Really nicely done. This gives you a good idea how sharp this is. I'm zooming in on this, obviously. You can read the warning labels, and the picture doesn't really do it justice. But all that subtle detail, all the details that you would expect to find on these have been engineered into these. And all you need to do is simply put them on your layout and you're ready to go. You can weather them, of course, to your liking. Now we're doing something a little bit different too. In the past, we've offered these in 3-packs. Well, this time we're going to offer them in 6-packs. That way you can really get your intermodal groove on. Here we have the JB Hunts. Again, you got 6 of these. Now, by us doing 6 in a pack, some of them are like this. They're all the same with different road numbers, of course. If I zoom in on here, you can see each one of these has a different road number. But sometimes there's variations on these as well. And the Santa Fe is a great example. Here we're offering 3 with, just like what we were showing earlier, the white background with the red 48. And then Santa Fe had a variation of that. They had a red with a white 48. So we're offering both of those. So by getting a 6-pack, you get a little bit of savings in cost, and you get a little variety, and it's a lot easier to build up your freight manifest. So here's those Conrail Mercuries. And again, these are all going to be 1990s. Here's another variation. 2 different versions of the NYK. Kind of a cool logo. I do remember these. I'll zoom in so you guys can see the logo. See how many remember this. Gives you a nice variety. And then, of course, Southern Pacific. 1990s again. So like I said, 48-foot containers. They're going to be offered in a 6-pack. You have until Friday the 28th, which is just a few days away. And boy, seems hard to believe that October is almost over, but it is. It's almost over. And with that, that is everything for the month of October that that we're offering. You have until, like I said, Friday the 28th to contact your dealer and pre-order any of those things. Don't forget, we've got those Dash 9s out. I know you BNSF guys are going to be happy this month because we've got those. We've got some Jeeps for you as well. At this point, I've got a few moments left that we can answer some questions. So let's see. Trailers sold individually? Yes. You might have missed it, but halfway through the show, we are offering those road names that you saw in the containers. We're offering those as a container trailer set. So the container chassis and the container, so they are available separately. So if you just wanted to use these for a road scene or a shipping scene or something of that nature, you certainly can. Truck or treat? Well, I'll take the truck, depending on the truck. That's right. Next week is Halloween. Keegan, thank you for that. I know you're excited about that AC 4400. I think a lot of guys are. We should be seeing some updates here pretty soon. Let's see. What else have we got here? I'm going back a little bit because when I switch screens, I don't always see your comments. Harold, thank you for that. Yeah, the painting and printing on these items has gotten so much better in just the last few years, and it makes things a lot easier. Jay Good has a pretty good comment here. He says setting these next to the old blue box containers shows a night and day difference in detail. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Those blue box kits now are going on close to 25 years, and there's a lot has changed even in the last 10 years in model railroad manufacturing. So um, you're definitely going to see a lot more detail, and of course the painting and printing is just so much better. Let's see. Okay, I'll go down to some newer comments. Dale says all he wants for Christmas is a surf liner. Well, you might have to wait a little bit longer on that. There's been a little bit of a delay, but we want to make sure that what you get is exactly what we advertise and is exactly what you would want. So we're fine tuning some things, but you're not going to have to wait too much longer after Christmas than that. So keep on waiting. Not much longer to wait. I am right there with you. I can't wait to see these cars. Let's see what else we've got. Steven's got a comment saying showing the photo of the actual model of the Conrail Mercury 48-foot container and zooming in on it was very good, showing off the detail and the fine decoration really well. Thank you, Steven, for that. We'll probably do more of that in the future, showing the actual model, maybe from a previous run. That way you guys have an idea. If you're new to Athearn, it's sometimes a little bit hard to tell what we're trying to convey with a simple uh, line art illustration, but we'll start maybe doing that a little bit further so that you guys have a pretty good idea. All right. So a couple of things I want to go over before we end out this program. This Friday, the 28th, it's a great Friday because you have the deadline to pre-order everything that we've talked about in the month of October. And then we also introduced the new stuff for November. That's right. This Friday at 3:30 p.m. Central, we're going to have the Athearn November new announcements. And I'm surprised none of you have asked me for a hint, because we've been putting some stuff out there in social media that's hinting as to what's coming out. But we've got a lot of stuff coming out. For you guys that like 6-axle power, you're not going to be disappointed. And for you guys that like some earlier 4-axle stuff, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. We've got a little bit of everything in November. And we've got some road names that some of you guys have been asking for. In fact, a lot of the road names we're going to introduce in November are based on what we get from the product suggestion email. So if you've been taking advantage of our product suggestion email, thank you, because that helps us choose what road names you guys want to see. While I'm thinking of it too, one other programming note is I wanted to let you guys know we're still getting packages for repair at the old facility in California. Now, if you weren't aware, that facility was closed in July of 2021. So we are no longer accepting repairs at that address. All repairs go through Champaign, Illinois. You can find that information on our website at athearn.com under the Contact Us. Please send an email first with as much information as possible for the tech, and the tech will reach out to you and give you instructions about sending that equipment in for repair. Now, if you know a club member or one of your friends is maybe not as well versed with the internet, maybe doesn't watch our programs and he doesn't know, please share that information with them. We'd hate for them to waste the postage sending a package to the wrong address. All right, so somebody wants a hint. Harold wants a hint. Dale says MP15 DC. No, not that. Not then. Let's see. Trying to think of a really good hint for you guys. Let's just say from Maine to California, it's harvest season. There's one hint. And something totally new under the sun. There's another hint. So there you go. There's 2 hints. Think about the first one for a little bit. You're going to have to really dig deep into it because it's under layers. But from Maine to California, it is harvest season. And something new under the sun. That's the second one for you. All right. Bradley says, another great night for these announcements. Thanks, Jim, for sharing this with all of us fellow modelers. Have a great night every night. And highball. Genesis GP40X. No, not that. But good suggestion. Good guess. Watch our social media. There's a lot of posts going up starting today about something new. That should give you an idea of what's coming up in November. So again, everything we talked about in October, get to your dealer before the 28th. You don't want to be disappointed next year when all those great models come in and you didn't pre-order and you're left without one. That being said, too, join me here Friday at 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for the November announcements. I want to thank you all for joining me tonight. Go back out there, get some modeling done, work on the layout. Fall is here. Be happy, be safe, and above all, high greens, everyone. Good night.